We will be looking at the math review problems 11 through 18. Reminder, Wednesday calls for 11 through 14, and Thursday 15 through 18. The first problem we will look at is problem number 11. 11 says 8 3/4 minus 1 1/5. Okay. In this case, we won't bother with keep, change, because we can see we are subtracting a larger minus smaller. We should expect a positive difference. We will take our mixed numbers and convert to improper fractions. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 3 is 35. 8 3/4 is equal to 35 over 4, minus 1 1/5. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 is 6 over 5. Alright, when we are adding or subtracting, we need a common denominator. The common denominator between 4 and 5 is 20. I'll express both of these fractions as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 20. 4 times what is 20? Times 5. So I must multiply the numerator by 5 as well. 35 times 5. Well, 30 times 5 is 150. 5 times 5 is 25. 150 and 25 is 175. 5 times what gives 20? Times 4. So we must multiply the numerator by 4 as well. 6 times 4 is 24. We have our common denominators. Since the denominator is 20 in both cases, when we subtract, the denominator stays 20. Now we will subtract the numerators. 175 minus 24. Coming over to my scratch paper. 175 minus 24 is a 151. So our answer is 151 over 20, but we will reduce this. 20 goes into 150 7 whole times. 7 times 20 is a 140, with 11 left over. The remainder we express over the divisor. 11 is the numerator, 20 the divisor. Lastly, we'll check for reasonableness. The original problem was 8 3/4 minus 1 1/5. Well, 8 minus 1 is 7. So this 7 over 11 twentieths is reasonable. Next, we will look at problem number 14. Fourteen says 7 2/4 times 4 1/5. Again, we will convert our mixed numbers to improper fractions. 7 times 4 is 28, and 2 is 30. 30 over 4 times 4 times 5 is 20, and 1 is 21. 21 over 5. Now we will seek to do any reducing. Any numerator can cancel with any denominator. Well, 5 will divide evenly into 30. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 into 30 6 times. Now 6 and 4. 2 goes into both of those. 2 into 4 twice. 2 into 6 3 times. This will make our multiplication a little easier. Denominator 2 times 1. 2. Numerator 3 times 21 will be 63. Now, how many times will 2 go into 63? Well, 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 into 3 1 time, with 1 left over. The 1 we express over the divisor. I will verify this over here. 2 divides into 63. 2 into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 6. Subtracting. bring down. 2 into 3 once. 1 times 2, 2. Subtracting, you see 1 is the remainder. So 31 whole times 1 the numerator, 2 the denominator. Lastly, we check for reasonableness. We have 7.5 times 4 in a little bit. Well, 7 times 4 is 28. It should be more than 28. So 31.5 is reasonable. All right. That is 11 and 14 from Wednesday. You can now do 12 and 13. Next Thursday. Thursday. Let's look at problem number 16. Sixteen says 5 1/2 plus 2 2/4. Okay. Sometimes it helps to reduce in the beginning. This 2/4 will reduce to 1/2. So this really becomes 5 1/2 plus 2 1/2. Well, now we have our common denominator. It's not even necessary to use an improper fraction in this case. We can simply add the whole numbers together. What's 5 plus 2? 7. And now we'll add the fractional parts. What's 1/2 plus 1/2? Well, that's 1 whole. It's 2 over 2. 2 over 2 is 1. So 7 plus 1 is 8. Back to the original. 5 1/2 plus 2 1/2. Well, that is indeed 8. Lastly, let's look at number 17. Seventeen says 5 7/10 divided by 3 1/3. First, converting to improper fraction. 5 times 10, 50 plus 7, 57 over 10. Divide by 3 times 3, 9 plus 1 is 10 over 3. Well, when dividing by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. We keep, change, flip. Keep 57 over 10 the same. Change, divide to multiply. Flip the second fraction. This becomes 3 over 10. Now we can multiply straight across. Well, 10 times 10, that's pretty easy, 100. Now 57 times 3. Coming over to my scratch paper, 57 times 3. 7 times 3, 21. Carry the 2. 15 and 2 is 17. We have 171. Now I can reduce this. 100 goes into 171 one time with 71 left over. Place that over the divisor. Lastly, we'll check for reasonableness. Well, 5 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so 5 divided by 3 is a little less than 2. This number, 1 and 71 over 100, is a little less than 2. With those, you should now be able to do 15 and 18. 1 and 71 over 100.